So, thank you everyone. Welcome to the Conservation Optimism webinar. My name is Resu Basyal. I am Community Manager within the community team of Conservation Optimism. Here we have our Director, Joan, and Project Assistant, Holly, joining us, including Lyndon and Chloe, who are our webinar speakers for today. Today's topic is empowering the youth, empowering the future, youth involvement in governance. I find this topic incredibly important and fascinating. How does it sound to both empower and be empowered? Now imagine that empowerment was focused on youth, the pillars of nation, and their involvement in governance. Today, with our wonderful webinar hosts, we are going to discuss about all these things. And I want to hand over this platform to our webinar speakers. But before that, just a quick housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded. And please keep yourself muted throughout the webinar session. And if possible, please turn your video off. But we have a separate Q&A session as we want to make this webinar as interactive as possible. So get ready with lots of questions. All right, Holly, do you want to say something?
Hi everyone. Just exactly what Reshu said. Really, we're grateful that all of you are here today, and very much looking forward to the webinar. And yeah, please do pop any questions that you have into the chat as we go through. And yeah, please do keep introducing yourself in the chat as well. It's great to hear from all of you. Thank you.
All right. Without further ado, I want to hand over this this platform to our speakers, Lyndon and Chloe.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today. We're really excited to speak with you all, and hopefully you'll find this a really engaging topic. We just thought we'd like to highlight as well, when we do share the presentation, you'll be able to see the presentation, but all visuals of anyone who's speaking will be hidden at the time. So don't worry, you will still be able to hear us, and then feel free to ask as many questions as you like at the end. I'll just let Chloe introduce herself as well before I load up the presentation.
So hi everyone, I'm Chloe. Me and Lyndon are really excited to present today and talk about the amazing work the Youth Board does at Chester Zoo. Once Lyndon's ready, we can get started.
Perfect, thank you. I'll just get ready to share our screen. So to start off, today's webinar is all about empowering the future through youth involvement in governance. And today it's presented by myself and Chloe, and we are both members of Chester Zoo's Youth Board. So I'll let Chloe start off with about us.
Yeah, so as we've just said, I'm Chloe, and obviously Lyndon is Lyndon. So I'm 26 years old and I work as an assistant psychologist. So I've worked in the mental health sector for the past 5 years, and that's because I'm interested in supporting people to improve their mental health and well-being. So my job is very varied. Sometimes I'll work one-to-one with clients, and we'll work collaboratively together to understand their mental health and to look at ways they can manage it. And then other times I work on research projects to improve outcomes for people using our services. So I'm a Youth Board member, and I'm in the Conservation, Education and Engagement team. And I'm also in the Commercial Growth Working Group. And I'll pass over to Lyndon to explain a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Chloe. So I'm currently a Masters of Research student at the University of Chester. I've just recently completed my undergraduate, and my research this year is focused on hedgehogs. For anyone who knows me, hedgehogs are very much my passion, and getting young people involved with hedgehog conservation. So I'm really fortunate to run a hedgehog project at the university, where we have over 100 student volunteers, and we get to take action within the local community, working with key stakeholders from councillors and also community groups as well. So it's something which I find really, really rewarding. And it's something which I can then bring into my role on the youth board. And on the youth board, my role is I'm a part of the external and internal reach working group. I'm also part of our commercial growth working group along with Chloe as well. And then I'm also part of our people and culture working group as well. So it's quite a varied role that we both have together, and it just shows how we've got that diversity within the team. I'll just move on to our next slide. So for this one, it is what is youth empowerment? So for us, the way that we view youth empowerment, it's by providing young people with the skills and confidence and opportunities to not only take control of their lives, but to also promote themselves within the conservation sector, and to pretty much help each other, because as youth, we are a community and it's up to us to support each other in developing those skills and make sure that we are achieving the impacts that we'd really like to. And it's quite important because empowering youth allows people to develop key skills, build on their confidence, and it makes a really positive impact on not just their community, but also the community around us. And it's really rewarding when you get to see how people have progressed throughout their time and their experience, depending on what sort of engagement they've been able to get involved with. And then I'll just hand over to Chloe.
Yeah, so I think we can look at the key aspects of youth empowerment. So first we've got education. So equipping young people with knowledge and critical skills is essential, as it enables us to make informed choices, understand complex issues, and engage meaningfully in discussions that affect our lives. So as part of the youth board, we are provided with packs before our meetings, which help us to contextualise the information that we'll discuss that day. And we also get behind the scenes knowledge about the zoo, how it functions, and the work they're doing to work towards their mission of preventing extinction. So all of this helps us to inform our discussions and impacts the recommendations we make to the zoo. And then the second one is mentorship. So offering guidance and support from experienced individuals helps young people navigate challenges and develop confidence. So mentors can provide valuable insights, encouragement, and networking opportunities that can shape our futures. And as part of the youth board, we have the opportunity to be matched with mentors. So they give us access to support and guidance from industry experts. And that provides us with opportunities to have discussions about our experience of the youth board, and also any personal development things that we'd like to discuss, goals we may have professionally, personally, and within the youth board as well. And then we also get lots of support from the zoo team in meetings and outside of meetings as well. And then our third one is responsibility. So giving young people real responsibilities fosters a sense of ownership and accountability. When we can see the impact of our decisions, it enhances our leadership skills and also encourages active participation in our communities. So at the zoo, we're given many opportunities to hold responsibility. So for example, today, me and Lyndon are able to speak to you guys as representatives of the youth board. And then every time we attend a meeting as well, we get the opportunity to discuss important topics and also make sure that youth voice is represented. And our last one is inclusion, and that is ensuring that young people are actively involved in decision-making processes, because that empowers us to voice our opinions and advocate for our needs. So inclusion promotes diversity and also enriches discussions because you get new and fresh perspectives. So this is what the youth board's all about. It's allowing us an opportunity to be a part of important discussions, and not only that, but also empower other young people to be involved with conservation and make decisions that can affect the future. I'll pass back to Lyndon to move to the next slide.
Thank you. And then our objectives as a youth board, we've set ourselves a mission of preventing extinction by empowering future generations. That's why this webinar is so important to us, as we see it as a vital resource to be able to share how the utilisation of young people within governance really can benefit not just the young people themselves, but also the organisation. As the future leaders and future conservationists, it's important that we have our say and our voices and opinions are being heard, as it allows us the opportunity to share what we think should be done for the future, and to make us feel like we're proud of what's going to be achieved. And then also as well, the zoo also have their own strategic objective, and this is to continue to build strong, resilient, and sustainable zoo that can maintain and develop its mission of preventing extinction throughout this decade and into the next. And the way which they are trying to achieve this is obviously by supporting the next generation of conservationists, and the way in which they support our youth board. They were the first zoo in the UK to actually establish a youth board, and it's amazing that we've been given this perspective where we're able to actually feed into how other organisations can utilise youth voices and how we can move forward as well with young people at the heart of everything that we do. And then I'll just pass over to Chloe to discuss our members.
Thank you. So as you can see here, these are all of our lovely members, including me and Lyndon. So we currently have 14 members, I think, on the youth board, and all of us are from different backgrounds and have unique perspectives to bring to our discussions. So I hope that you can see, but from Chloe C, she's a curriculum manager, to Matt, he's a senior policy advisor, to Jess, she's an engineer. We all have different experiences, and we just want to highlight that that's our strength really, because it helps us to represent a range of different voices which exist within the community that we represent. And yeah, by having those perspectives, it means that we have a diverse range of views in our meetings. And it's also important to us as a youth board, and also as the zoo, that the board is inclusive so that every member who joins feels comfortable sharing the voice. Yeah, thanks, Lyndon.
Thank you. So I just thought I'd like to discuss our role within the zoo and how basically we feed into everything that the zoo does. So the youth board, we're there in an advisory capacity. So we feed back information to the board of trustees within the zoo. And then this allows us the opportunity to feed into all the objectives and all the missions that the zoo is trying to achieve. There's various different subgroups that we work within as well. You've already heard that we have our separate working groups, and a lot of these tie into some of the other sections, such as, for example, the Strategic Development Committee, Conservation Master Plan Committee, Ethical Review, and also Audit and Risk Management Committee. And the reason why we're very fortunate to be able to have the position to sit in on these committees and see what's being discussed is it allows us to share from a youth perspective who may not have as much experience what our perspective may be. And it's a really great opportunity for us to build our skills and to learn from those who have extensive knowledge and extensive experience, and see where we may be able to actually shape the future within those sections, and also see what we can gain from those meetings and bring them back to the youth board on how we deliver ourselves of a board and what we're trying to achieve. It's a really exciting opportunity, as it's something that not many young people actually get the opportunity to feed into such high levels within an organisation, and to be able to obviously have such a diverse background and feed into all of these separate criterias and many more is a really fantastic opportunity for us. And it gives you a sense of ownership that you've been able to feed into this, you've been able to support certain areas. And as young people, it's amazing to be able to see other young people within the sector doing such incredible work. And then I'll just lead on to our approach. So Chloe, I'll let you start off, and then I'll come into it afterwards if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Lyndon. So as we discussed before, we have different ways in which we feed in to our advising. So we have working groups, and I'm just going to talk about the two working groups that I'm in. So I'll start with the Conservation, Education and Engagement group. So the Conservation, Education and Engagement group supports and contributes to making education around conservation more accessible for young people. So the zoo already has a team which does amazing work with this, going into schools and youth centres to deliver workshops surrounding conservation and engaging young people in initiatives to improve their own communities and also the environment around them. The Youth Board have been involved in creating a youth network which aims to bring young conservationists, sorry, together to who are passionate about wildlife. So through this, the youth network, we've been able to develop like exciting opportunities to get involved with events, training, and activities as well. So that continues to happen. And then also we've got our newsletter, which goes out every 2 months. And that shares some insight into things that are going on within the community and things that you can get involved with, important information, podcasts, all that good stuff. So I think the 3rd of August, we had our first youth network event, and lots of lovely young people came to the zoo with some of our youth board members to learn about the amazing work that the zoo does, conservation, and have like some fun activities as well. So I know Lyndon attended that, so hopefully maybe later you can share a little bit about it. But just a little shameless plug, you can sign up to learn more about the youth network. So we could send around the link maybe later, or if not, you can just write in Chester Zoo Youth Network into the search engine, any search engine basically, and you can find the page there and sign up. It's a really good resource to have and be involved with. So yeah, that's that group. And then I'm also in the commercial growth group. And this group looks at exciting ways to promote commercial growth within the zoo's younger audience. So within this group, we try to think about what young people want from their zoo experience, how we can encourage more young people to come to the zoo so that we can educate and empower the next generation about conservation. Are you happy to go on, Lyndon?
Yeah, no, very happy to go on. So thank you. So yeah, I'd lead on with legislation and public affairs. So this working group is basically, it allows the youth board members to participate with the public affairs team within the zoo and learn about the legislation that the zoo is working towards and often feeds back on. And it allows us to learn from these individuals who have a lot of training to show us how certain elements are put through Parliament and how the zoo opinions carried forward. So it's a great opportunity for young people to learn how to empower themselves and others while also delivering their voice and their opinions. And I think that's one of the beneficial things of having the youth board is, say, for example, if there's something coming up and where I ask for an opinion from the board, because we're so diverse, we come up with so many different ways and different ideas that can actually feed into it. And I think that's one thing we really value is it's not just one person's voice, it's all of ours. And that's why being part of the legislation and public affairs working group is a really great opportunity. And it allows you the chance to network with key stakeholders and potentially even parliamentary members when they visit the zoo as well. So it's a really great opportunity for us to sort of do a plug for young people there and see how we can promote young people's engagement within that sector. And then I thought I'd lead on with people and culture. So as already highlighted by Chloe, people and culture is at the heart of everything the zoo does. It's trying its best to be as inclusive and as supportive of its team members as possible, and also with those externally as well, where possible as well. It's a really great opportunity for us to be involved with. As young people, we're able to provide different perspectives that may not have yet been considered. And a lot of the times with people and culture, when they're aiming it towards young people, it's really vital that they take on board the opinions from ourselves. And I think that's where it's great that we're able to feed into this and we're able to show that we can be an advocate and we can promote the inclusivity. An amazing opportunity we've had recently is we were able to feed into the zoo's policy in regards to diversity, equality and inclusion. This was a great chance for us to have input and give ideas that we think from young people that would be a nice thing to potentially consider in the future. And then in previous years, the youth board's also done walks around the zoo with the people and culture team. And we've actually had a look at various different areas around the zoo, seeing what may need to be changed that might not have been considered before to make it more accessible and more inclusive. And then I just thought I'd finish off as well just by talking about our external and internal reach. So this is a working group that I'm involved with. And with this, it covers everything from running in the zoo's 10K that we did recently, fundraising for the work that we're doing with the rhinos. And then we have everything as well leading up to the Festival of Education, where we send representatives to represent the youth board we've previously attended various different events where some members of our boards have actually awarded awards to different organisations and individuals. And today's, for example, this webinar is part of our external internal reach. It's very important as young people that we have this space where we're able to promote the inclusivity of young people within the sector. And it's a great opportunity for us to basically share how young people and their opinions really can add value, and to just share the work of the youth board, because we're doing so much unique and amazing things, and it's great for us to be able to share how we're actually achieving this, and how not only we're supporting each other, but we have the support of the zoo and the entire team at the zoo backing us and making sure what we're wanting to achieve is possible. And then we'll just move on to our next slide, which is mechanisms, and I'll pass that over to Chloe.
Thank you. I suppose we should just add as well, with the working groups, we can sort of step into different working groups if we find an interest. We have that fluidity and flexibility to be able to do that. Sorry, I just forgot to mention that. It's like Lyndon said just now, that I'm in the conservation education and engagement, and I'm in the commercial growth group, but I've also been able to get involved with this external reach opportunity. So I think the youth board members, and especially like the people who lead those groups like Lyndon, are very good at sharing those opportunities as well, so we can all collectively get involved if we want to. Thanks, Lyndon.
Thank you.
So now I think we can have a look at some of the mechanisms we use to ensure our voices are heard within the zoo. So advising can be done in lots of ways. So one of the ways we do this is raising items in strategic priority groups. So this is where all the working groups we just discussed come together with the zoo to share important initiatives that we believe should be at the forefront of our discussions. It helps us to ensure that our priorities align with the broader goals of the zoo, and that the youth perspective is represented in key decisions. Next up, we've got attendance of board meetings. So being present at these meetings allows us to share our insights directly with decision makers. It's our chance to voice the needs and also the concerns of young people and advocate for things that matter to us. And it's also a great opportunity to learn about the strategic direction of the zoo and how we can align our efforts with that. Attending committee meetings. So these groups focus on specific areas. So Lyndon mentioned them before, like strategic development and the conservation master plan. So by attending these meetings, we can dive a bit deeper into particular topics and contribute ideas and suggestions. So that's that one. And then contributing to workshops. So workshops are a really good way for us to brainstorm and collaborate together. And by sharing our experiences and perspectives in these settings, we can help shape programs and initiatives to be more inclusive for young people. So then we also do lots more. So Lyndon kind of touched on that on the previous slide as well, but I'll just go over it a little bit more. So attendance at events. So we represent the youth board at various events, which allows us to gather insights from the community we represent as well. So like that youth network event we did, so we can engage with our stakeholders, and it helps us to understand their perspectives, and we can bring feedback to the board, and that can inform our decisions moving forward. So also we've got growing our reach both internally and externally. So this means connecting with other departments within the zoo, as well as engaging with the community outside of the zoo. And this is because the more we expand our network, the better we can advocate for initiatives that benefit young people. So it's about fostering collaboration across different groups. And then, yeah, we've got contributing to youth board and zoo-wide initiatives. So by getting involved in projects like this, we can ensure that the youth perspective is integrated in the zoo. Being involved like this helps us to raise our voices and strengthen the connection between the youth board and the zoo's mission. So I think this slide just kind of highlights how multifaceted the processes of feeding into the zoo and advising, and all these things help us to make a meaningful impact. So being a youth board member at Chester Zoo, it's important that we're active participants, we share our insights, and obviously make sure that youth voices are heard within the zoo.
Thank you, Chloe. And then just to follow on for that, we thought it would be a great opportunity to share some of the activities that we do. as previously highlighted by Chloe, it's important for us to make sure that we're representing young people and we're trying to raise the awareness through our internal and external reach. Here we've got a few examples of some of those opportunities that we've had this year. So on the left, you've got myself and Penny from when we were able to film some content for the BR's I Love Your Zoo week. This was a really great opportunity for us to share basically what we do on the youth board, but also to share why we really love the zoo and what we like about the zoo. So it was really nice to be able to share that from a youth perspective. We also, as well, on the bottom there, where we're all stood holding the volunteer logos. This is from when it was the volunteer week, and it was our way of basically saying thank you to all of the incredible volunteers who make everything that runs at the zoo run, and the amazing volunteers that we have there, and then as well to each other, just for everyone's commitment and everyone's passion that's been able to help shape the board and promoting our events and activities that we're involved with. And it was a really nice opportunity for us. We also, as well, this year, as highlighted previously, attended the Festival of Education. It was great for us to have representation here because we were able to gain a lot of insights that we were able to bring back to the board and look at perspectives and opportunities that we may be able to pursue. As well, with the zoo, we've also taken part, a few of us attended the Chester Pride over summer, which was amazing. We had a absolutely amazing time. There was an incredible amount of people from Chester Zoo that was there, and being involved with an organisation that really does make everyone feel equal is really rewarding. And I thought it was an incredible opportunity to see how much support that the zoo and the entire team had for everyone who's within the community. So it was really, really amazing. To highlight as well, you've seen that we've discussed briefly about the event we had in summer for our youth network. And just to touch on it and to add a bit more information, this was a really exciting opportunity for us. It was the first time that we've held this sort of youth network event. And what we did, we brought young people into the zoo for the day. We gave them a tour of the zoo. We had one of our rangers with us who was giving us some incredible expertise and information on some of the species as we walked around. We got to meet some of the keeper team and also see behind the scenes of some of our animal areas. And it was incredible to have this opportunity to network with these young people, see what their thoughts were on the zoo itself, and see as young people where they think we as a youth board may be able to promote their voice even further. So it provided some really invaluable opportunities. Up at the top, you can see there's a picture from our youth summit last year. We will go into more detail on this on a slide further along, but I can guarantee you'll really enjoy hearing about this and hearing about the network that's been developed from that youth summit as well. So we'll just follow on to the importance of youth in decision making. So for this one, I just thought it'd be great to highlight the representation. So as young people are key stakeholders in society. Giving them a voice in governance helps ensure that their needs and priorities are heard, creating policies that are more representative of all generations. And what we need to consider as young people is we are the future generation. We are going to be in these roles and these key stakeholder positions in the future. And it's important that we have our opinion put forward now and we feel as though we're listened to. I think as young people, it's really valuable to be able to see other young people within the sector and see them championing the cause for young people to be included and to have that fresh perspective put forward. Young people always bring new ideas, we're very creative and quite innovative. And I think, as highlighted, our board, we're really diverse. And it's amazing when you see some of the ideas that we discuss with ourselves within meetings and you see the different perspectives of other people. And it's surprising just through our 40 members within that room, how many opinions and how many ideas actually come through, and to think how we can interpret that and utilize that and push those ideas forward to promote that inclusivity for young people. And I think that's why having youth in decision making is really important. It also provides us with those key life skills that we can take forward and champion throughout our entire career. And it's really exciting to see how inclusive and diverse that decision making is becoming by including youth voice and allowing young people to have their opinions heard. and then we'll just head on to the challenges that young people may face into getting into governance and getting their opinion heard. So for this one, I'll pass over to Chloe.
Thanks, Lyndon. So I think, yeah, it's important that we take a minute to just sort of look at some of the common barriers young people face when they're trying to get involved in governance. So as stated here, we've got lack of opportunities, limited access to decision makers, or not being taken seriously due to their age. So I think it's important to touch on this because being a young person, it can be difficult to know where to start, or it can sometimes feel like there aren't enough platforms to have our voices heard or express our ideas. So a lot of the time, young voices are sidelined or overlooked in discussions that directly affect us. And it's sad because young people often have good ideas and perspectives, but sometimes we face skepticism because of our age. So I think it's important, well, we think it's important for us to acknowledge these difficulties so we can take steps to overcome them. And I think Lyndon's going to talk about some of those steps on the next slide.
Thank you, Chloe. So on this slide, as highlighted, we're going to be discussing the solutions to overcome the challenges. So one of the main opportunities that needs to happen for young people to be able to have their voice heard and feel as though they are being listened to is for organisations to actively create spaces for young people to contribute and to ensure they're actually a part of meaningful discussions. As highlighted previously by Chloe, as young people often we can be overlooked, and it is that issue of quite often it's on matters that will affect us. And it's amazing when organisations create the outlook and the opportunity for young people to feed in and to have that interpretation, such as ourselves, we've been a part of the youth board at Chester Zoo. It's really amazing to have that opportunity to have our voices heard and to feel like what we're doing is going to be changing the future for ourselves and for other young people. As we've discussed, mentoring and support is something that can really help young people build confidence and develop the skills they need to succeed in governance roles. The amazing part to having these mentor opportunities is it allows mentors to understand young people, to be able to learn a fresh perspective and maybe carry that forward in their roles. But for young people, it allows us the chance to learn from these individuals who have got this life experience and got these incredible skills that they can share with us and help us develop and maybe even support us in moving into governance and key stakeholder roles in the future. So it's a really great opportunity to network, but also to develop in yourself. And this is something which would be amazing to see a lot more organisations providing. And then another thing for young people, obviously accessibility is key. As young people, especially say, for example, if we're in education or higher education, one thing that you struggle to find is a lot of free time. And that's because a lot of organisations may run potentially Monday to Friday, but Monday to Friday, you've got to think you're in education. So it's having those flexible opportunities for young people to voice their opinions, to be able to have the opportunity to input to workshops, to seminars, to conferences, and allow young people to be able to be heard in those spaces. And one area which is often highlighted is obviously around pay. As young people, quite often they're not in the opportunity to be able to pay for opportunities. So having stipends in place or payments to support young people to actually gain these options are a really great asset. And obviously having paid opportunities as well is a really great opportunity for young people to be involved, as it shows them that their opinion does have that worth and they're not having to sacrifice their time for free. They will be gaining something back from it. And say, for example, if an organisation isn't able to offer the paid opportunities, what you'll find is young people, as long as if they have the opportunity to gain something from it, such as upskilling or gaining a mentor or gaining some support in some way, they will always be willing to pour as much as they can into something because that passion is there. Young people are really keen to change the future and have their voice heard. So I think if organisations do start following these concepts, then potentially we might be able to overcome some of these challenges that young people are facing today. And then I'll just pass over to Chloe for pathways to participation.
Thanks, Lyndon. Very well said.
Thank you.
So now that we've looked at some of the challenges and barriers and Lyndon's highlighted how to overcome them, let's have a look at some of the ways you can get involved. So obviously we've got to start with youth advisory boards. So obviously these boards allow young people to directly influence policy and strategy, just like our board at Chester Zoo, and they're also very empowering to be involved with, and allow you to have a voice in decisions and also discussions with like-minded people. Volunteering is also a good one. So this volunteering with organisations that align with your interests is a great way, to gain experience and demonstrate your commitment. Then advocacy and campaigning. This helps young people build networks, raise their profiles, and contribute to causes they're passionate about. And also internships and fellowships, which are offered by many organisations and are specifically designed to engage young people in governance. I'll pass back to you, Lyndon.
Thank you.
Oh, this was me, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we thought it was also important to touch on the youth board recruitment, because the zoo empowers us as youth board members to have an active role in identifying the next iteration of the youth board. So we've been recruiting for our youth board very, very recently. We have a working group of youth board members who are working very, very hard to look through applications for our newest members at the moment. We had our open day at the end of September, which was both virtually and in person, and lots of wonderful young people came in and attended online. So we got to meet them, chat with them, and find out why they're so interested in being involved with the youth board, which was a really lovely experience. So hopefully soon, maybe at the end of this year, beginning of next year, we'll have some new youth board members, fresh blood. But yeah, so taking part in the recruitment process has allowed us to learn some valuable transferable skills, and it's also been an empowering experience to be included in such a significant aspect of the board's development as well. I'll pass over to you now, Lyndon. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you, Chloe. So we just wanted to share as well our Chester Zoo Youth Summit. So this is an event which the Youth Board look to every single year. This year was our 4th year, and we just held our Youth Summit actually on the weekend just gone, so on the 19th and 20th of October. And it was incredible to see over the years how the Youth Summit has progressed and become a lot more than what we ever expected on the outcomes of it, which is amazing. It's a completely youth-led event, so all of our young speakers and presenters and hosts all aged 35 and under. And then we're really fortunate that we have the incredible support of the zoo team, and especially Sean, who is always our biggest advocate, and he helps us put on our Youth Summit every single year. This year we hosted it in the square, and it was a really lovely venue to have it hosted here. We had a range of talks over 2 days. We had keynote speakers from Cam Whitnell and Billy Heaney, and then we had various organisations come and share the work, and it was young people who were there sharing the work that they're doing within the organisations and how the organisations are really benefiting them and what they're gaining from it. It's always a two-way thing, so it's a really great opportunity to have inspiring speakers there to not just inspire those in attendance, but to also empower a lot of us to go forward with our own actions and see how we can actually shape what we're doing and make our own way within the conservation sector. It's also a fantastic opportunity for young people to network with like-minded individuals, either in the sector or hoping to be within the sector, and see that it's not always just one way directly into it. Everyone comes from it from completely different backgrounds, completely different perspectives, and all of us have our own journey into stepping into the conservation sector. So it's great to learn that you don't have to go down one specific route. You can go down it any route that works best for yourself. And within the conservation, there's so many diverse roles. And I think that's what the summit always highlights, is there's so many new opportunities that are coming around year after year after year. And it's surprising how those roles might come around, such as now there's a lot of people who are pursuing careers in conservation through podcasts. And it's great to hear from people on how they've established their podcast, how they've built it up, and how they've turned their passion into basically conservation in action. And I think that's one thing we really look forward to every year with the summit, is just hearing these stories from young people. And you really do come away feeling really inspired. this is an event that's planned for an entire year, and it's pretty much the main project of our youth board every single year, where all of our members contribute into. And it's always fantastic when you get to see the outcome. And yeah, it won't be long now until we start planning our Youth Summit 2025. And then I just thought we'd pass over to Chloe.
Yeah, very exciting. So everyone should keep a lookout for when we announce the dates for next year. Probably will be October time, maybe, but yeah, just keep a lookout and see for the announcement. Thanks, Lyndon. So empowering the next generation starts now. So what can you do as a young person or an organisation who is looking to become involved in youth governance? So firstly, you've got get involved. So whether you're a young person or part of an organisation, it's time to create more opportunities for youth participation in decision making. Take action. Organisations need to actively seek out young voices by creating platforms where we can share our ideas and perspectives. So this means making sure there are environments that we feel welcomed and valued and safe in as well, so that we can share those perspectives. But then at the same time, we also have to, as young people, be encouraged to step up and get involved. So even though it can be intimidating to voice our opinions, we need to remember that our insights are important and can lead to meaningful change. And then finally, we've got the future is yours. So to make a difference and have our voice heard, we need to support each other and collaborate. So it's all about coming together as a community so we can share our experiences, lift each other up, and advocate for the issues that matter to us so that we can make a powerful change. Yeah, I think that's it.
And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We really hope you've really enjoyed this webinar. What I'll do is I'll stop sharing the presentation so you can start to see myself and Chloe again. And then please feel free to ask us any questions you want. And each meeting is usually the full day. And then alongside that, as we've highlighted, we have our working groups. So if you're a part of the working group, it depends which group you're within. But we usually say it's probably at least an hour every week, I'd say, as long as if you're checking your communications, because we're always quite after that, making sure we're messaging each other. But yeah, it doesn't take as long as what you might expect. And it's surprising because we're so diverse with how many members we have, how much time we're able to share between each other. So it never feels like you're doing everything and you feel stressed about it. You always feel really relaxed with how much time you're having to put into it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like we do support each other, and lots of people have experience that we can learn from. So it's really interesting in that aspect as well. But yeah, it's pretty flexible, like Lyndon said, with how many hours you can do in the month. We do have bi-monthly meetings, so every 2 months, don't we? So that kind of puts things into a bit of perspective. They usually take a good few hours, but it's definitely worth it for like the discussions that we get to be a part of and what we learn from those things as well.
Great. There are some follow-up questions from Jessica, and one question is just related to what you just said. Do you meet outside of working hours to make it inclusive?
Yes, to add on to that, we do meet outside working hours. So as a youth board, we're all very flexible. We understand a lot of our board members are in full-time or part-time work and full-time or part-time education. So we always make sure we can make our meetings as flexible as possible. It's quite often we'll have meetings in the evening and we do them via Teams as well. And say, for example, a lot of our members travel from all over the country. So it's really important for us to have the opportunity in our board meetings where if someone can't physically attend, they can attend via Teams as well. That way they're still a part of it and they're still able to contribute. So this is where we mean when we talk about if you are part of an opportunity, it has to have that flexibility there to work with you.
Yeah, and our formal board meetings are at the weekend, so they're on a Saturday. So that doesn't really come into our work time. If it's in terms of the other committees that are involved with other parts of the zoo, sometimes they do take part, like they are happening, in working hours. However, I think if we speak to our employers or like our like schools or universities and things like that, I think people are usually pretty understanding because it's it's an opportunity. We usually do it for about 2 years. So I think they're pretty understanding that it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it's quite a huge thing as well to be involved with.
Yeah.
So usually you do get the time away, but there's always somebody from the youth board who can go and represent and feed back to us as well, or we can feedback stuff that we want to be said in those meetings too. And also the Zoo are very supportive in that they can help us. Sometimes they'll help us with like sometimes writing a letter or something if we need it, just to ask our employers for some time so that we can attend those meetings. So the Zoo does the best to make sure that we can attend those meetings if we'd like to. But yeah, like I said, we can feed into the meetings by letting other youth board members know, or they can feed back to us as well. So it's yeah, it's very flexible with things like that too.
Amazing. So there is one more question. What was the most needed kind of support you needed from staff of Chester Zoo to keep it to get up and running? Sorry, I want to read it again.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay.
What was the most needed kind of support you needed from staff from the Chester Zoo to get up and running?
I think probably because the youth board itself, when it first established, was quite a new concept. It's very much a learn as you go with it. We had the structure in place from the zoo, which we're able to follow, but they helped us develop the board in a way in which it was able to work for us. So it never felt like it was an impossible task we couldn't achieve. We've always had that support network in place. So if we ever highlighted that was something that wasn't quite working, or we needed to change our meeting times, or potentially if we ever had to change the meeting days, we've always got that opportunity in place where we can just go to the zoo team, let them know, and they'll work with us to make sure it's fully accommodated. So support wise, we've always had that support in place to make sure that anytime we've needed it, that support is there for us. So we've never felt pressure to make sure something's done a particular way. There's always that flexibility in there, so it works for all of our members.
And I think as well, we're the second generation of the youth board. So before us, there was other youth board members, and they started, I think, in 2020, was it?
Yeah.
So they did a lot of groundwork for us to be able to be doing what we're doing now. But we know that the zoo really supported them and worked collaboratively with the youth board then to sort of make the youth board what it is today. And so much so that the zoo's been able to advise and offer support to other organisations and other zoos that want to set up their own youth boards. So the most needed kind of support, I suppose, listening to each other and finding out, like from the youth board perspective, what they needed, and also what from the zoo perspective, what they were expecting. And I know that the youth board originally and the zoo worked very collaboratively together to make the youth board what it is today.
Very impressive. Thank you. There are some communications questions from Sandrine. Do you rely on Chester Zoo's communication channels to promote all of your activities? Are young people who are not interested in zoos, for example, not following Chester Zoo's specials, one of your target audiences? If so, how do you reach them?
So just to touch on the first one in regards to the promotion of our activities, quite often with the youth board ourselves, if we have activities for young people to be involved within, we do share these across the Chester Zoo networks that we have and across the social media where possible. But I think as a youth board, one thing we've always got to keep in mind is we're here to represent young people, but we often don't share a lot of the work that we're actually doing behind the scenes. And I think it's something which we do discuss from time to time, and we do see it as something that potentially we may be able to start sharing more openly. But I think it's just because we've got so many different things that are happening all the time, and it'd be hard to commit as much time as would be needed to share everything that's happening all at once. And sorry, what was the second part to that question? Apologies. Are young people who are not interested in zoos, are you not following one of your target audiences? So they actually are one of our target audiences. It's something that we've been discussing recently, and we've been talking about ways in which we can actually work with local networks, potentially going into local schools. Recently, we went into local schools when we were doing our youth board recruitment for our their career days in 2 local colleges. And it was a chance for us to meet with people we wouldn't usually meet who aren't already within the conservation or zoo sector or potentially interested in zoos. So it was great to gain their perspectives. And I think it's definitely something we've highlighted as an area we want to continue to develop going forward. Because at the end of the day, we're in these roles to represent as many young people as possible. And the only way we can do that is by talking and listening to as many of them as possible.
Yeah, I just completely agree with what Lyndon said. And I think as well, that's why we created like the newsletter and the youth network, because it does allow people to get an insight into some of the work that the youth board does, and then things that are going on within the community around conservation, because obviously that's something we really want to push, young people getting involved in the future and things that affect the future. So I'd say, yeah, everything that Lyndon said.
Great. So we will take one more question. We have one question from Jessica Bennett. Do you feel your interactions with the older generations have been positive, or has it been difficult to get your voices heard despite having Chester Zoo board support?
I must admit, I know for myself what I've experienced is it's always been really positive. I've found so far the older generation are always really keen to hear from young people. And I think often they can maybe have the perceived idea that young people aren't interested. And I think that's where being a part of the youth board, we're able to show them actually we are interested. And there's many other young people who are really keen to participate within this as well. And I think it's always really nice to see how supportive they are. And with some of the older generation we've actually worked with previously on certain opportunities, it's been amazing how much they valued our opinion, and they do allow us to express our point of view. And like we've said throughout, it's amazing not just for us to share our opinion, but we learn so much from them. So it's a give and take with it. But yeah, they've always been positive so far for myself personally.
Yeah, and I'd agree as well. I think everyone who I've spoken to from an older generation has been very positive, also very interested in what we do, and how we achieve what we do as well. Especially of course in the zoo, where we get a lot of support from the zoo team to make sure that we feel comfortable, we can say what we need to say, because there's so many different things, like we spoke about having mentors, then we have the zoo team there to support us anyway. And yeah, I think we do get a lot of support from the older generation. I think it does depend on like the environment that you're in. So I mean, like outside of the zoo, sometimes it can depend, and sometimes you will run into people who mightn't be as perceptive to what you want to say, but you just have to remember that your opinion is valid too. And it's like you have new perspectives to bring, you have interesting things to bring. So just because if someone doesn't necessarily see that, it doesn't mean that it's not valid. And just do your best to say what you can and what you feel comfortable with as well. But definitely within the zoo, it's an environment that empowers us to feel like we have a voice, and like we can come and speak to all of you guys today, which is amazing. So yeah.
Amazing. So thank you, Lyndon and Chloe, for this very amazing session and for responding to all these questions very nicely. And thank you everyone for your nice questions. There is a survey form. If we very much appreciate your suggestions and inputs to help us improve our webinars. So please please don't forget to fill the survey. Also, our next webinar is coming at the end of November with more details coming up shortly. So yeah, please stay tuned. And as Holly already mentioned on chat, the webinar is being recorded and you will get the slides. It will be available soon on our website. And before we sign off, I want to pass over to John.
Oh, thanks, Rashu. I'll be very quick because we're nearly out of time. We had our summit, I can't believe it was a month ago now. But the themes of that summit really summed up conservation optimism, which part of it was empowering, it was inspiring each other with stories of things that are working in the conservation world. part of it was embracing, which is just looking after each other and taking care of each other as a community. But the big one, particularly at the summit, was enabling. It was teaching, learning from each other, supporting each other, teaching each other what we've learned. This network of organizations is so important, the Conservation Now network, in helping to share what we've learned and support each other. These webinars are fantastic, and this one has been brilliant. So Lyndon and Chloe, thank you so much. I'm delighted to see your definition of young people runs to 35. But I'd like to wonder if there's any limit on how long you've been 35 and you can still be eligible. But fortunately, we haven't got time to hear the answer to that one. Thank you so much, guys. That was brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody in the audience, for turning up and listening, because these guys are incredible, and it's great to hear from them. And just, if you haven't done a webinar yet, please add yourself to the list, because we want to learn from each other and support each other as we go through this journey. So thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rashi, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. And again, thank you, Lyndon and Chloe. And also, I would like to thank all the participants for joining in, and also for interacting very actively. I want to end this webinar for today, and see you again on our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.